The movie opens with an abandoned spaceship, the Event Horizon, drifting through space. Inside, personal belongings drift in zero gravity. Then we see a man, with his skin carved with a horrified look on his face. We then see Dr. William, also called Billy, as he wakes up on board the Daylight space station. He sadly looks at pictures of his wife, Clara, who recently passed away. He is ordered over the comms to report to Docking Bay 4. At the docking bay, the spaceship Lewis and Clark and its occupants are prepping for a top-secret mission. Inside are the pilot, Skippy, communications officer Stark, Captain Miller, engineer Justin, and rescue technician Cooper, as they set their course. Billy joins the crew on the ship, but Captain Miller has no time to talk as they are getting ready to go into a gravity couch. They get undressed, and the medical tech, Peters, helps him out before the doctor, DJ, gives him a shot to help with the travel. The journey is underway and the crew is asleep, but Billy is awakened by a voice that sounds like Clara. He decompresses and begins to look around, hearing the voice once more. He searches around and is startled by a door, but then he sees what looks like Clara, sitting nude in the captain's seat. She mutters that she is cold, but when he checks on her, he sees that her eyes are gouged out. Billy wakes up, as it turns out it was a dream. DJ explains that he was in stasis for 53 days but should be okay soon. Cooper offers him some coffee to help, but he refuses, so Cooper offers Peters something warm and black inside her. Later, Peters watches videos of her son when the team gathers for their briefing. Smitty announces that they will be arriving in the orbit of Neptune soon. Captain Miller then formally introduces Billy to the team, who begins to explain the purpose of the mission. He explains that they received a transmission from the lost ship the Event Horizon, but the team do not believe him due to the fact that officially the ship was reported destroyed. Billy disputes this, and explains that the ship runs on an experimental propulsion system that folds space to achieve faster than light travel. The team is left astounded and wonder how he knows so much, only to hear that Billy was the designer of the ship. The Event Horizon, on its maiden voyage, disappeared to another dimension only to return 7 years later. Billy plays for them the recording of the signal received and they hear screams and sounds of terror. DJ recognizes a sentence spoken in Latin, translated to "save me." The Lewis and Clark then enters the orbit of Neptune and prepare to descend into its atmosphere where the Event Horizon was detected. As Smitty pilots the ship in, Peters hails the abandoned ship but hears nothing. The team then break through the thick clouds to see the massive spaceship, which makes their ship look like a speck. They do a flyby of the ship and attach themselves and begin to scan the ship, looking for any sign of life, and Peters detects life forms all over it. Captain Miller then sends out a team to check out the ship but tells Billy to stay behind until they have secured the ship, much to his disappointment. Miller, Justin and Peters then suit up and head to the airlock through a tube attached, while Billy guides them. They enter the ship to see it abandoned, walking around using magnetic boots, seeing nothing but trash around them. They decide to split up and Miller is startled by a severed hand which floats by. Peters walks around and sees blood. Billy guides her to the ship's log. She removes the disc and turns to see an eyeless corpse float by. Justin makes it to the gravity drive, which is a massive wheel within wheels. The drive activates, breaking off his communication with the main ship. Justin then touches the drive, which appears like dark liquid. He is intrigued, but the liquid pulls him in. The drive then releases a pulse of energy that makes its way to the Lewis and Clark, causing a major malfunction. Meanwhile, Cooper has made his way onto the Event Horizon to rescue Justin. He pulls on his tether and pulls his body out. Realizing that there is a breach in the hull, Billy and the others on the Lewis and Clark plan to make their way onto the Event Horizon as there is power and oxygen. They hurriedly suit up and get on board the ship, where Stark is able to activate the gravity, causing everything to come crashing down. Billy is able to bring the power online, but they are without a radio and they only have enough air for 20 hours and need to find a way home. Smitty is inspecting the damage done to the ship, and Miller orders him to get it fixed before the air runs out. Justin is being inspected by DJ and Peters. His vitals are stable but he is in a coma state and they worry that he will never wake up. Cooper tries to explain the black liquid he saw, but Billy denies this, as the core could not have started by itself. Cooper is adamant and Billy explains that gravity may have distorted his vision. He takes them to the core and explains that it can create a mini black hole to bend space and time and it is safe, but Miller, seeing what has happened so far, orders everyone to stay away from it. Peters is reviewing the ship's log when she hears something behind her. She thinks it is DJ but he is on another deck. Peters grabs a medical saw and nervously makes her way over and sees what looks like her son, but with gross lesions on his feet, and he disappears when DJ comes to her. The team later gather and watch the ship log of the Event Horizon. As the crew prepares to power up the gravity drive, the footage breaks and screaming can be heard. Miller and Billy then go to check on the core as the ship is losing power rapidly. Billy enters a crawl space to check on the core. Meanwhile, Justin is having a seizure. DJ comes to check on him and Justin grabs him screaming about the dark. Billy is inside the crawl space when he hears Clara's voice whispering to him. He begins to freak out and she appears in front of him without eyes once more. Outside, Miller sees an illusion of a former crewmate that died under his watch. The crew gather and try to explain what they each saw as real, but Billy plays it off. He and Smitty get into a brawl when DJ suddenly grabs Skippy, putting a knife to his neck. Miller calms him down and grabs a still raging Skippy, ordering him to go repair the ship. Stark then reports to Miller, telling him that she thinks the ship is alive and is trying to get rid of them, but Miller blows her off. Peters is back in the medical bay, pacing around nervously. She hears a moan and begins to call for her son. The lights around her go out and there is a sudden explosion causing her to run off to the bridge, freaking out. As DJ tries to calm her down, something begins to pound on the door. Billy, seeming entranced, tries to open the door but Stark stops him. They then realize that the airlocks have been opened and run to see Justin closing himself away. Stark reaches out to Miller, who is outside repairing the ship, and he makes his way over to help. Justin turns to them, telling them that he saw dark things and will not return. Justin opens the airlock, which is on a 30 seconds delay. He returns to his senses, begging Peters to let him back in, but the door is locked. The outer door begins to open and Justin begins to bleed from his eyes and is sucked outside. Miller arrives and pushes him back inside the ship just in time, and the team stabilizes him. Meanwhile, Billy is on the bridge seeing visions of the core. The team meet again, trying to understand what is happening to them. Miller demands that Billy explain, but he says he does not know. Miller goes after him, demanding an explanation as to where the black hole leads, but Billy is silent and leaves. Miller then hears a voice calling to him for help and tries to convince himself that it is just in his head, but the voices around him grow louder. Later, he tells DJ about the crewmate he lost while serving on another ship and was forced to leave him behind. DJ then tells him that the translation he heard earlier was wrong, and the voice actually said to save yourself from hell. They think that the ship actually passed through hell while jumping dimensions, but dismiss it when Cooper reports in that they have repaired the ship with only a small leak delaying them. Stark has cleared up the footage and is horrified to see the crewmates mutilating each other and the captain holding his own eyes. Seeing this, Miller orders everyone to board the Lewis and Clark, but Billy tells him that they cannot leave the ship behind. Miller orders him to get packed, but Billy eerily tells him that he is not going home as he is already home. The core begins to drain energy and Stark and Skippy try salvaging air capsules for the journey back. As Peters tries to leave, the core conjures up visions of her son and she runs back inside, chasing after his illusion. She climbs until she sees her son, but falls to her death trying to go after him. Billy sees a vision of Clara, seeing a replay of how she ended her own life. The vision of his wife hugs him and Billy begins to claw into his own face. Later, Skippy is on the Clark when he sees Billy leaving. He radios to Miller, who realizes that an explosive is missing and tells Skippy to get off the Clark. Skippy tries searching for the bomb instead and finds it, but it explodes, destroying the Lewis and Clark, killing Skippy and sending Cooper hurtling into space. But Cooper is able to use his oxygen to propel himself back into orbit. Miller reaches out to DJ, telling him that Skippy and Cooper are dead and to look out for Billy, but he is too late as Billy shows up with his eyes gouged out and begins to attack DJ, knocking him out. Billy then carves him up, leaving Miller to find DJ hung up by wires with his organs below him. Determined not to die, Miller grabs a gun and goes looking for Billy. He finds Stark instead, who is knocked out and is able to revive her, but his gun goes missing. Billy then reveals himself, his eyes sewn together, sitting in the captain's chair. He tells Miller that he created the event horizon to reach the stars, but ended up tearing a hole in the universe to another dimension of pure chaos. He adds that the ship returned from hell sentient and now requires them as her crew. Billy then tries to engage the gravity drive, but Stark attacks him. Cooper floats by the ship, causing Billy to shoot at him, blowing a hole in the bridge. The decompression then begins to suck everyone out of the ship. Billy is pulled out into the void of space and Miller is able to grab a tether and pull himself to safety. He tries to help Stark as the doors begin to close and is able to pull her through to safety. They help Cooper back onto the ship and realize that Billy had activated the gravity drive and they only have a few minutes. Miller then decides to use bombs to separate the gravity drive from the rest of the ship. He leaves to prep the bombs on board to blow, while Cooper activates the emergency beacon. Cooper then sees blood running on the walls and runs to call Miller. Miller has activated the last bomb but sees an illusion of his crewmate which attacks him. He runs to the core but the illusion knocks him down. The illusion morphs into Billy, who the ship has resurrected. Miller tries attacking him but Billy is too strong and beats him bloody. The gravity drive then activates and Billy prepares to pull them to hell, but Miller grabs the detonator in time and blows the ship to pieces. The front of the ship detaches with Stark, Cooper and Justin, who watches the event horizon is swallowed into a black hole. 72 days later, a rescue team boards the vessel and locate the three in their stasis chambers and pulls them out. Stark sees a vision of Billy and screams and Cooper tells her that she is safe now. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.